why to do it. So there are a lot of reasons to pursue a management team role in a private equity company. I've done it. I've been there. It is fascinating. And the first is to just think about fishing where the fish are, right? If you're thinking about looking for your next role, or maybe you're actively looking for a role, you have to understand that it has never been hotter than it is right now in private equity. So certainly there's jobs in big companies, big co, if you will. And certainly there are jobs in startups, leadership teams at early stage companies. Private equity companies tend to fall somewhere in the middle. And I say fish where the fish are because there are a ton of these companies. Just to give you some data, $2.5 trillion is sitting on the sidelines waiting to go to work in private equity companies. There are 2,000 private equity firms just in the US alone, and just about that many overseas as well. So around 5,000 total. All of them have one thing in common. If you think about a private equity firm is led by general partners. Those general partners raise a fund and take that fund of money and distribute it by investing it into portfolio companies. And the individuals who work at the fund are called general partners, and the investors on the outside are called limited partners. So these general partners who put the money to work at portfolio companies, they have one goal, and that is to outperform the market, which enables them to raise their next fund and continue to accrue the fees and the benefits that enhance them so much. And so they are on a never-ending search for talent. That's where you come in. The ability to help move the needle at one of their portfolio companies is super important to these general partners. And so fish where the fish are means there's just a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity. The second reason is you have an ability to make an impact, perhaps unlike any other role or any other company that you can think of. I've spent time at startups, at private equity companies, and also at large companies, Black & Decker, Dyson, etc. And I would be hard pressed to have the ability to make an impact as you can make at a private equity portfolio company. You can really make a difference in accelerating the growth or turning around one of these companies, which leads to equity ownership. So typically, not always, but typically, the leadership team of a private equity portfolio company is granted some equity in the company. Now, it's a little different than startups or venture capital companies, where often all employees receive some equity in the company. That's often not the case. In private equity, a lot of times it's just the senior leadership team, what I would say the top table. So the CEO and her direct team quite often have equity. And sometimes that equity can be pretty meaningful, and sometimes can lead to a sale of the company. And then the new investor or the new private equity firm will re-up, so to speak, and give more equity. So there's actually a second bite at the apple sometimes for these private equity situations, which can lead to wealth accumulation. Now, I have an asterisk there because that's not always the case. Many times these turnarounds or scaling opportunities don't work. The equity turns out to not be worth very much, if anything. And so you need to know that going in and really learn to ask the right questions about the equity and the prospects for it accumulating. But there's no doubt in my mind that relative to a safe job at a big company, which are no longer safe anyway, that there is the opportunity at a private equity portfolio company to create meaningful wealth.